Alright, last time we cut all the pieces for our slatted rack, and this is what the finished product will look like. Here's what all the pieces look like laid out before assembling, and today we are going to assemble these pieces. This is the shelf, and I didn't really show the video of cutting this dado, but this is our dado that's 7/16 inches deep and 3/8 inches wide, which matches the tongue on the slat itself, and so it will slip in like that. Alright, let's put it together. You can see in my tight workshop that I actually use my table saw for my workbench, and to protect the surface of the table saw itself, I just get a piece of political advertising sign the surface of my table saw. So let's go ahead and put this together. The first step in assembling this rack is that I'm going to take the shelf and I will place a bead of glue in the dado here for that, match it up here, and then I will take some 1¼ inch staples and pop a few to hold it in place. When you assemble this, you want to make sure that this space here between this dado and the remaining part of the shelf that extends out into the dado on both sides are the same. So what that's going to do is that's going to be the receiving end for the side rail, and it will go in like this right here. I'm going to take some glue, just some good waterproof, good quality glue, woodworking glue, and put a bead of glue into the dado here. Not really putting the glue into this section yet. We will eventually, but right now we're going to place the shelf into this slot. That looks good. Now, just to make sure, I will dry fit the side rails, and it looks like that one's going to fit. We'll dry fit the opposite dry rail, and that's going to fit. So what that tells me is this distance and this distance is sufficient. We're going to nail this in place now with our 1¼ inch staples. That looks good. We'll just set this aside for a moment. And we need to make sure as we assemble this glue, as we place glue in here and then nail this in place, then it is critical that this corner here be square, and I will take a square just to make sure. And position this. Glue on this end. Put these pieces in place, and then we'll tighten things up with these up with a clamp. Okay, we're now assembling the racks into the shelf. To do this, we'll put some glue on the tongue of the rack. Spread that around. A brush would probably be better. And we have a 3/4 inch spacer. The racks are 3/4 inch apart. We now have the racks assembled, glued but not nailed into the shelf. Take glue and glue on the end of the racks. Now we will begin the somewhat tedious task of positioning the rails into the end bar. Now, a clamp on this side. Alright, so now I have a clamp holding the side. I have a clamp as I position these. I have a clamp holding. So now I'm going along, placing my spacers in here. All the pieces are glued, and I'm wanting to get this in before the glue really sets. So now that I've got them spaced where I want them, I will put a clamp on them and then check for square and then begin nailing them in place. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to nail into the tongue of each of the racks using a 5/8 inch staple. Alright, I have completed stapling each end of the tongue into the shelf. I'll now rotate my working bench so that I can nail or staple using the 1¼ inch staples into the ends. Alright, I have finished stapling each end, except this end here. I did not staple that one. There's a big knot there, so I'm going to have to pre-drill that hole there. I'm now going to take a 2-inch finishing nail and put in each one of the long pieces just to give it a little bit more of stability. With everything stapled, we can now take the clamps off, take all these spacers out. We now have a finished slatted rack. You can see that once you have all the pieces made, the assembly is actually fairly quick. Hope this is a project that will help your bees. Thanks for watching.